Perfect. Thank you very much. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and hand this microphone over to Lucy to introduce herself, and we'll go around the table here, and then we'll head it up to the people online.
This is Doug Irwin, CEO and beer quality taster at Island City Brewing Company.
Lori Lucas, community member, member of the Port Authority.
Jeff Van Fossen, founder, Codabo, and community member.
All right, and we'll take it one at a time online. Ben, do you want to say hi?
Hey everyone, Ben Johnson, Fastenal, Director of Sales. I don't have any fun titles like professional beer taster, but I wanna have that job next.
Amateur beer tasting isn't bad either.
There you go.
Phil?
Hey everyone, my name is Phil Huerta. I'm the program coordinator for Winona County ASAP. It's short for the Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention. Coming in as a community member. I'm a father of 2 young kids under 3 and interested in this topic too.
Chris.
Hi everyone, Chris Livingston, Director of Retirement Plans at Merchants Bank, former small business owner downtown Winona, community member.
And Pat Mutter. Though Pat, if you are not going to unmute, we can just say hi, and you are the head of the Tourism Bureau here for the city of Winona, since you're not unmuting for us. With that, I am going to turn it over to Nick Larson or Lucy McMartin to kind of introduce our agenda here for the day.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to lead out by a couple of items that were brought up at our last meeting. Pat Mutter had brought up the halo effect, and then I believe it was Mike that brought up Think Eau Claire. So what we want to do is kind of show these promotional pieces, especially as the group has been bringing up the one voice to represent all the activities and promotional items that are in Winona. So we just wanted to share with the group what some other marketing tools are being used out in the different communities.
What really attracted me when I first saw Duluth is the lake. That was a fantastic sight, and I actually said right away, I would love to live here.
I came in the US when I was 16. I lived in California for a long period of time. 20 years ago, my husband and I moved to Minnesota, and we thought this is a great place to start a family.
I grew up in the South, in Atlanta, Georgia. My former college coach became the head coach at Bemidji State University. And so once he got the job, I came up that semester to go to Bemidji State University. Minnesota has the most Fortune 500 company per capita in the country. There's not a better breeding ground for talent. There's not a better breeding ground for potential acquirers here in Minnesota. And you know, when you think about the cost of living, this just makes it an ideal place to start a business.
Rochester's tradition in healthcare is recognized around the world. And so there's really no other place where I would do my business.
We think keeping it here in Minnesota is going to be a defining moment for the state that hopefully brings the next 100 entrepreneurs, the next 100 millionaires that want to do it themselves.
Life outside of work starts right after work. Within half an hour, you can literally be at a lake with your family, or you can enjoy a walk in one of the state parks. That's a quality of life that is difficult to beat anywhere else.
I didn't know that it was going to be possible for me to work downtown Rochester and ride my bike from my hobby farm.
We have a vibrant music scene here. We have a vibrant tech community here, and having 4 seasons and having the opportunity for my kids to go outside and play in the snow, but then in the summer be able to go to the pool is something I never experienced growing up. I'm a kid from the hood of Atlanta, Georgia, and you know, we got Silicon Valley investors leading our rounds.
To live in a city where the fabric around you carries you and takes care of you when you need it the most, that's super important.
I think anything is possible, and I think anything is possible here in Minnesota.
So that's the piece on, I think Pat Mutter's message at the last meeting was how promoting tourism, has an effect on economic development while you're promoting to people and businesses also. And when people come to a community to visit, in the back of their head, they think, well, could I live here and work? Could I have my business here? And things such as that. So I guess I'd like to hear from the group. We do have the video that Mike Dieter mentioned. It's 2.5 minutes, a little longer than this one. And it's regarding Eau Claire. Would you like to see that, or do you have enough examples of this one voice for marketing? Do you want to see it on the big screen? Okay.
People talk a lot about happiness. It's something everybody looks for. It can come from not only how we spend our time, but also where we spend it. And the right community can make all the difference. Most places have at least some good, but some places have a lot of good. There are the basics, a sense of safety and comfort, a job you're good at, a nice home you can afford. But when you're ready and in the right place, happiness can come from all around you. It comes from the changing seasons and wide open spaces. It comes from the vibe in a community that likes to do things, to experience, to learn, and grow. It can come from the energy of a place working together every day to build itself into something more. A place that fosters connections, helps create new friendships, and that values individuality. Happiness comes in a place where we can just as easily fill up our days and lives as we can empty them, right out. Creating time for yourself and for the people you love. Honestly, here in this place, we don't have to think much about these things. We just have them.
So we wanted to share those two things because I think what Nick is going to be getting into here in our agenda is some of the common themes, which is eventually what we get to at this committee is the themes, goals, objectives we'll be working on. And one we've heard from a few different members of this group, as well as in the engagement piece, is to have this one voice for marketing that, the Chamber, Visit Winona, Economic Development, Port Authority, the universities, speaking all together like Eau Claire or like the Explore Minnesota or Minnesota tourism piece. So we just wanted to show that. And are we on the right track with hearing that that's one thing this group has said, is that marketing together so that everybody's not doing it separately is something that's a good thing, I guess, is what we're trying to gather from that. Any comments?
Yeah, totally agree. If that's one thing that comes out of these meetings, that we create something like that to highlight what we have, I mean, it'd be a huge win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more myself that a united front and a united branding effort is really compelling. And even in these two examples, you looked at the Minnesota versus the Eau Claire. The Minnesota, it was strong presentation, but it felt kind of transactional. They were checking the boxes. The Eau Claire was inspirational. It was emotional. It was, I think Ben said it in his email. He wants to move to Eau Claire. That's the message it sent. It's a, so I think not only a unified branding message, but one that is that is that visceral, that emotional, that aspirational, as opposed to just checking a lot of boxes, is a strong, very compelling brand message.
Any other comments, Chris or Pat or
Oh,
Doug or Lori?
I completely agree. Yeah, I'll just echo all the voices that have been, I think this is very strong and it can play out in a lot of ways as all of the parties that are, have input into the original development of the branding message and the types of materials that'll be created. I mean, there you've got a video, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can, different media and different types of products that we create to kind of, support each other. But then when all of the interested parties begin to employ the same message in their various markets, I think it kind of will compound on itself. So wholeheartedly agree.
Okay, two other brief economic pieces that we want to bring up before Nick gets more into the subcommittee review of what we talked about last time regarding the 07 comp plan and some changes that we're hearing from the group. The city had their annual financial report presented on Monday, and that sounds really boring, but there's two really important pieces. They're very brief, and I thought that it might be good to share them. So this is on like page 158 of the report. But what it does is on the top is our top 10 employers in the year 2021. And then beneath that is the top employers back in 2011. And this goes back to our demographic profile. What we're seeing here is that we have around 20-25% of the people, people employed in our top 10 businesses. And this shows the diversity that we have and why this is good. If you did this chart for another city I looked at recently, it'd be flipped. They have 80% in, one sector. So this just shows the diversity, and we compare it from year to year to see how it changes. The top 10 do fluctuate, but that percentage, at 21.5 and 23.7% is something that our auditors actually recognize as a benefit to the city. So I just wanted to let you know that when looking at a health of a city anyway, that's something our finance people look at. The second one.
Sorry to jump in. I do want to really reiterate just how important it is to have a diverse workforce and a diverse economic base. And I want to make it a tie-in here to our land use subcommittee and also to some extent our housing subcommittee and the way that our city develops. It's important to realize that one of the reasons why we are able to have such a diverse economy is the availability of small incubator spaces or small storefronts or small business places. Being able to start a business without significant overhead or not needing to already be large to be located in Winona is really important for our community. We've historically had this diverse economic base. And I think, as Lucy just pointed out, it really is an asset, and it's seen as an asset across the board when we end up doing these types of audits. So when we talk with our land use subcommittee, we'll be using the same point to reiterate it's important to have spaces for large and for small businesses to really begin to find their feet.
And sorry to jump in here on that point. And there's probably a different, more appropriate time to have this discussion. But one thing I'm hoping to get out of these conversations are what are the barriers with these smaller businesses? How are we making it more difficult for them, or how can we ease that burden? So just as an aside, at some point, I'd love to hear more because I'm not a small business owner, but I think it's critical to our success is to make it very easy for them to do business here. So that can be tabled if needed, but I haven't really heard it talked about too much yet.
I think that was Ben. correct? Yeah,
yep, yep.
okay. And that's a very great point, and it did come up in the engagement piece that was done as well, that minimizing barriers to
Yeah.
business owners is really a key.
Right, but I just don't know what they are. Like, are we charging them crazy taxes on things or licenses that are not fair? Like, I'm just curious what those things are and what can we really do at some point in this process.
Great point. So far, I think we've heard some of the at least tax type issues. We've heard about housing and daycare, of course. But there are other barriers too, perhaps regulation or taxes or
Right.
things like that. The second piece that was brought up, so what this shows, if you go to the very right, I'm not going to get too far into what tax capacity is. It's all about increasing the market value within your community. And this was in our audit showing that from 2017 to 2022, we can see that the property market value of property in Winona went from 1.6 million to just over 2 million. And on the very right, it tells you what percentage that is in change in the market value. This is important because you want to continue to show increased investment in your community. And what we can see here is in 21, 22, we're over 11% growth. So we have seen a lot of investment. We like these trends to continue. When we hit a recession, these values get to zero or perhaps a negative number, but this shows some good solid investment or growth. So just wanted to point that out. That helps show stability and growth in a community from a financial perspective.
Lucy, do these numbers represent assessed value of property? When you're looking at the total estimated property market value, that's
They do.
per tax review. And the assessed value is a function of what the assessor deems
Values
to
it
be.
at.
Okay.
You sign like you might be going somewhere where
That's
one of your
predictable.
friends and my Port Authority president says, well, maybe it's the sign of an aggressive assessor, but
Exactly.
yeah, right. So part of it can be that, but it also has taken off a lot of the permit values. We do know, so let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. In 2019, we had about $80 million in building permits. And in 2020, we had about 90 million in building permits. And our average over the last 10 years is 40 million. So we did see a very big investment change over a 2-year period, which might reflect some of these big changes coming up because of a lag factor of when something gets assessed. But with that being said, right, we have to, one of the barriers can be valuations and taxes to a business as well, so.
Sure. Yeah, and I think permits is, new permits is a good indicator, and it sounds like you're at least cognizant of the fact that, an assessed value is kind of a self-defined, and so we have to be careful to not be intoxicated by our own numbers, especially when we're creating them.
So with that, Nick, did you want to go into getting the committee's view on some of the other pieces on the agenda?
So in the last meeting, we reviewed the comprehensive plan and the engagement part to try to gather some thoughts and themes. Whereas when we look at the previous terms used in the old comprehensive plan goals, one of the first ones that we looked at last week was quality of life, and there is note of that should remain in the new comprehensive plan. And with that, I was just curious if anybody had any additional thoughts relative to last week that staff should be collecting, so we can add those as additional goals and or objectives within the quality of life section. And I just wanted to point out as we go through this process and we start defining our themes and our goals for economic development, the 3 tenets that we have to kind of look back at for the entire comprehensive plan would be equity, technology, and sustainability. And I just bring that up to when there's opportunity is how could we tie any one of those three items into each one of our goals? So how could we tie in equity into quality of life, for example? So just hoping to gather some people's thoughts on that.
I guess my question would be, where are we going to put quality of life? Because it looks like a lot of the things that we talked about, the comments that people made all have to do with that, but we don't have quality of life as an actual goal or mission or issue or part of the plan.
Well, and that's part of the conversation with we could term it as quality of life, and then all the comments that and ideas that we have would fall underneath that as objectives, such as for quality of life, to be able to, I'll use one of your examples from last week of the other week of our signage downtown to have it in different languages. So promoting equality, and going along those lines of how as a community can we promote equality and embrace it as a community, along with sustainability, which could tie into a comment that Chris made when we start looking at infrastructure. How do we tie in technology into it to be sustainable for years to come? Whereas we're going to, we'll say, peel up a road and resurface it. Is there any type of technology that we could put into it? You know, if it's even a parking lot, do we make a technology upgrade or make the suggestion to add electrical? So at some point in time, if there wants to be a community event of music or an artisan market within a particular parking lot, that we already have the infrastructure to be able to do said things. So just trying to allow everybody to think outside the box of within all these goals or ideas that we have, how can we tie those back to equality, technology, and sustainability?
Okay, I guess what I was getting to, and maybe I didn't state it correctly, when I was looking at the 2007, the 2016, and then the information that we got from Engage Winona, I thought that many of the things that were the same in each of those all pertain to quality of life, or almost did.
So that's coming to the top
Yeah.
as one of the goals is to maintain, to add to that, to make sure we continue to have
Right, like
high
our
quality of life,
healthcare and business incubator, or maybe that's not quite so
know,
much, but
outdoor rec, arts,
Right.
culture, that it all fits together. So we're just trying to gather from you, first we said one messaging themes we're hearing, and are we right in that? The second thing we heard is quality of life is as important as ever in today's world because of where people can live and where people can choose to start a business. And, under that quality of life, I guess the two sub pieces, people mention safety too, quite a few times. So we just want to make sure we're on track, and you have the meeting notes that are on the webpage and maybe were also sent as part of the agenda. Just making sure we're capturing what you're saying, when we're pulling this all together. So one thing we gathered at our level is we know marketing is one voice. We've heard quality of life is everything. And we're just trying to come up with some other things as you view the notes and engagement. What are some common themes you're seeing? And we started out with a couple, and we'll go around and ask what others feel are some common factors that have been heard throughout so far.
I was really struck by the high level messaging of the Eau Claire video, because it thought outside the box in that it didn't stick to just the checklist, the kind of stuff we're talking about. You say quality of life, you talk, the Minnesota ones, the quality of life, convenience, access to capital, cultural diversity, and safety. And those are all real. But Eau Claire's focused on one thing: happiness. And, that means different things for different people. But at the end of the day, it's what we're all pursuing, is that, oneness with your community, oneness with your spouse, oneness with God, what is happiness to people? And I'd like to talk to the people who created that video, because they had a very high understanding of the human emotions around where we want to wake up in the morning. And they know it's driven by happiness, and a lot of things go into it, and it's for different people. And if you watch that video, they were speaking at a very high level, almost kind of a spiritual level, and yet they were feeding us images of which we could link, we could identify with any couple. So we were hearing a high level message that resonated with us. And then we saw images, and one might be the biking, one might be the fishing, but people connected with those different images. But their objective at the end is that every individual watching this connected with at least 3 images. And with that high level message, and felt at the end, I need to get my family there or myself there, because that's where happiness is. And that's what I'm pursuing in life. So I think that's the part outside the box. It feels almost, trite and predictable that a video or a campaign, marketing campaign, would be a list of all the assets. And yes, it's there, but more importantly, it's how it connects with the spirituality of the individual. And so my advice or input would be to say, get minds around this that think at that level. And this marketing company would be one of them, and say, here are the assets we have. You understand the nature of the human psyche and of branding. Help us get that message out at all levels, not only the video level, but how we do signage and how we do, we promote safety and how we promote education, because it's all in the spirit of people being happy. That's it. Happy.
And our chamber actually talked to the company that did make this video. We have a ballpark cost, but we've been communicating with the chamber about that, about how Visit Winona, the chamber, Port Authority, Economic Development, universities, that how we could all work together. And then you have your large employers who try to recruit people here. Perhaps they're interested also. So hopefully we can begin a campaign that is similar. We just have to think of another word other than happy so we don't copy them. But we'll work on that.
Hi, everyone. It's Pat. I'm sorry if you don't hear me very well. I'm sick at home. I agree with Jeff that in that video, you're trying to show them what they want without saying all the things that they want behind it. And that is really good branding, is showing them and making them very emotional about what they want without saying all the words of safety and accessibility and affordability and all that good things that we like in a place that we want to live in. So it is, I think we try to put a lot of images and things that get you to feel a certain way, even in our videos in the Visit Winona site. And for those of you, if you haven't seen it, I would really encourage you to do that, because we get told by visitors to our site very often that when they watch our videos, they want to just pack their bikes and their kids and their dogs and come live in Winona. So we're trying to do that. And, but it really does need to be very, I think, collaborative with the city, with the chamber, with the universities, with healthcare, and with manufacturing, that we all put out that same impression. So. That's it. On here.
I just had lunch with somebody today who is just starting a fully remote job and looking at moving to North Carolina. I think the main reason was because of a warmer climate, somewhat warmer, still gets cold there. But just listening, it kind of got me thinking that I do agree with, people want happiness. And I think a lot of quality of life also includes connection. And I think What I didn't see in some of the videos, or just a little bit in the Eau Claire one, was the outdoor activities, the outdoor climate. And being in the Midwest, we have a lot of that. And I think we all gripe about it, but we kind of get through it through connection and friendship and having things to do in the wintertime. So I don't know that I'm saying that that's the best, thing to maybe talk about in a marketing video, but maybe we do lead into that and talk about, the good, that is in wintertime too.
That's a great point. You only saw summertime visuals in those videos. Nobody wants to admit that it gets really cold here. We're trying to avoid that, but there are things to do in the cold. But for certain, I'm just concurring with all the commentary so far that it is about emotion and happiness, and I think most people just are going to gravitate towards just environmentally friendly outdoor opportunities and biking and being on the water and just outdoor stuff. I think really speaks at a spiritual level to people. And then you just can't underscore the safety part of things too, with everything in the world that is becoming so dangerous everywhere, that to really just key on, I certainly feel that we've got an extremely safe community. And one of them, I don't know if it was Eau Claire or the Minnesota video about just the distance, or maybe that was in that article that I sent to you guys about that being such a thing people look for. People sitting in traffic. I used to live in Dallas Fort Worth, and I'd spend at least 2 hours a day in traffic, and I didn't go further than like 15 miles. It was awful. And today, like we all get upset if we've got to wait for the roundabout construction. So I mean that's a big deal too.
I wanted to move on. One of the other common themes and again, I want everyone to look at these notes from the meetings and the engagement, but we sure heard a lot, we think, about entrepreneurship. We heard about it from Ben. We heard about it from many others. It certainly came up in the engagement piece. And there seems to be a theme there of entrepreneurship, business support services seem to come up so that people who operate businesses can focus on their business and not some of the things that take them away from the business. So those are some of the things we're hearing that we can, gather more information on and kind of organize it in a way under goals, objectives for you to review, or at least for you to weight each of these. Again, the equity, inclusion, and mobility, bringing that into all of our different pieces that we're putting together are something that we want to do. I'm going back to the engagement piece, where they talked about a market center, incubator was mentioned. We do have some private sector people that are providing space, like Nathan brought up at the last meeting, but really encouraging that and having some support services are things that we're hearing as well. Any comments on business startup, entrepreneurs? Just your thoughts on that from our discussions to date.
I think probably what we need to do, especially after having the garage, is taking a close look at what a great opportunity we had when we offered it and why it didn't pan out.
Yes.
And if we can get to that, then maybe we can better design the next incubator or find more collaboration within the city to make it a go.
I do apologize because I missed most of the previous meetings. So to add on to previous comments, it's hard for me. But one thought I had related to the market and just supporting people who are trying to grow something new. I went to the farmers market for the first time in a long time this last weekend, and it was the first time I saw that they had that Indian food booth set up. And I thought that was pretty neat how someone, it's a farmer's market. So right away, think of, people that grow things and bring them there to sell. But it just got me wondering, could we even broaden that up and not just be a farmer's market, but a market, a marketplace for people to come and bring anything and, share new ideas and maybe they'd be themed or, categories throughout the year to be organized. But it was just cool to see something new and different.
I think you encourage, like the food truck is such an underutilized opportunity as well to bring in, like there's so many delicious foods that people can make and bring in through food trucks that would really bring in people. And I agree with Phil, what other ideas are there? What other business ideas and collaboration? How can we make that easy for people with entrepreneurial mindsets to all meet and gather and trade and share ideas? Would be wonderful.
Yeah, actually, this last weekend, my father was in town this weekend. Parents are from Latin America. One of the first things that they asked for was, do you have any food trucks? Some food that we could try. So I think it's important to also have a lot of different things so that, when I chose to stay in Winona for 10 years now, that even when I bring my family here, they can be impressed by the things that we have to offer too, that are cultural, that are just new and exciting.
That was one of the things that Margaret Shaw Johnson was talking about and is going to talk to the council, was to have a community kitchen in the Masonic Temple, because it's got that large space already set up, needs overhaul, but it's a good place. Also the co-op, and I'm with you, I love trying different kinds of foods. Every Tuesday they used to have East Indian food when they could have their buffet, but now because of COVID, those things have changed, but they also rent their kitchen for people who want to come in and cook. But if you want to be an incubator for that type of art, let's say food art, and we can get those two to work together and maybe something else, that's one other piece where we pull from different aspects of the community, make something a go.
One of the thoughts I had as I was thinking about, incubator space was, maybe a physical space like that has to be manned, it's open, it might be difficult, but what if Winona became a resource for entrepreneurship and business development? So what if there were resources? What if there was a center for resources that had both business support services, being able to refer folks to people who can help them, but also in collaboration with the business departments at both of the universities in terms of, what could we do to make Winona a center for, young entrepreneurs? And they come to Winona to learn, live, and, when needed, we have resources available to them. And that might be a branded office or a business or a nonprofit, or I'm not sure how that would be housed, but kind of bring a lot of these thoughts together into a singular resource or location, or something to that effect that's supported by from multiple fronts. So I don't know.
30 years ago, when we were starting our business, we were contemplating starting it here in Winona and or starting it in Rochester. And the decision was made to start it here for 1,001 decisions, but all of them came back to the same wish, and that is, wherever we start this thing, we want to be immersed in a culture of entrepreneurship. When you're starting a business, you have no idea. You can't anticipate the problems you're going to, or challenges you're going to face. You can't anticipate all the needs that you're going to have. So you want to put yourself in an environment where there's a history of those problems getting solved. And it's one of the real assets of Winona. You listen to what people are saying just today. I mean, I've heard 15 great business ideas, just today around this table. And that's our DNA here. We are an island where every job that is here has been created here. Nobody's imported a job. We've created it. And so we've got entrepreneurs all around us, and we've got the resources all around us. What I think is critical to our economic development is to broker it, to figure out a way in which we can more efficiently deploy it. But as far as it, you know, that is to connect, for instance, when we started our business, I had a list of 5 entrepreneurs that I had breakfast with once a month. Ben Miller, Dan Rukavina, you know, this list and they were really incredibly helpful. And there wasn't a question I had that one of those entrepreneurs couldn't help guide me through. That is an intangible asset that's beyond compare. And we have it in this valley. And so, you know, some vehicle whereby we can facilitate that is certainly helpful. But I think more importantly, from a kind of recruiting and inspirational standpoint, is we are a community of entrepreneurs. That is our history. That is our culture. Everybody's walking the streets here thinking up great ideas all the time. And how we convey that is, again, is branding and marketing. So any business out there, any individual going forward, you know, you're seeing these people who part of their happiness is self-realization. 15% of people who graduate from college want to start a business, but 100% want to be individuals. And they might end up saying, you know, I want to work at Fastenal, but on weekends, I want to sell tiki masala at the farmer's market. You know, there's always an entrepreneurial spirit in all of us that wants to be cultivated. And part of what we offer to people is not only being a warm nest for businesses, but a warm nest for people to self-realize and be individuate in their independent ideas. If that makes any sense at all. I'm prattling on.
I appreciate what you're sharing, and it really just made me think a lot about the connection and support that we do have in Winona. I think that helps all of us at many levels too, even when it comes down to, you know, the basic needs of providing food, you know, free meals. Those solutions came about, you know, it happens in Winona. What I remember from being in Winona for, you know, 10 years now, from Winona State University, just how cool it was just to have mentors in the community who are community leaders, who just cared about young people and wanting to help them out. I was really impressed by that, and still am friends with a few of them. And it left enough of an impact on me where now in my work, I'm trying to build a youth internship program to support high school students, for them to be community leaders or school leaders and work on service projects that they care about. Because I've heard that too, you know, they want a platform or ways to do things and be leaders. So I think, yeah, connection and opportunity, connecting those two things together, I would like to see more of that too.
Just a quick comment on what you said, was all of the nonprofits that we have here in Winona and all the good things that they do for Winona. When you talked about, you know, this food distribution, that type of thing, all of those others I think are great. Winona Community Foundation, the festivals that we have, the outreach programs that we have. You know, somebody may come in and have a little bit of trouble, and there's always someone here to reach out and help you get up again. And that's important to me. And I don't think I'd want to go to a community where they didn't have those types of things, because that means that community does not care about their citizens.
Nick, do you want, Nick is involved in 2 organizations that help. Do you want to, like, do people even know about the Poverty Roundtable? Do people here know about that?
So what Lucy's referring to is a couple of housing groups comprised of city staff, county staff, leaders of nonprofits, just community members that there's a charge, and we've been lucky enough to receive some grant funding to start a program to lead towards actual brick and mortar. It's definitely a long process, but it's to provide supportive transitional housing for those that are in need of, mental health services. Maybe it's job training. Maybe they just moved to town and they can't find a safe, dry place to live. They can find a job, but they can't find a place to live to save their money for 3 months to have first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. So, I mean, it's all encompassing of trying to help those folks that, self-inflicted or not, just need some help and do have the ambition to be able to be self-sufficient. And so, I mean, that's one of the organizations that I'm involved with. There's many in the community that try to lead these separate charges. And the other one is, with volunteer services and all the work that community nonprofit does, that is greatly supported by the community itself also, to help underserved individuals between the food pantry, emergency food, transportation. All of a sudden, single mother lost a radiator hose and can't drive to work. Well, she can go get a grant, if you will, for a couple $100 to get that radiator hose fixed so she can go to work. So, I mean, it's all those interconnected organizations that it's great to be part of a community like that, I guess. So.
I want to take advantage of this tie-in to talk about, who are we missing? What entrepreneurial ideas are we not hearing about because those opportunities haven't been available for those individuals as well? Not just meeting basic needs, but we have a lot of educated people in our community, but also we have a lot of people who don't necessarily go to college or don't necessarily make that step from their first entrepreneurial inkling in high school because of a situation or because of the lack of access to capital or mentorship even. How do we make those connections? Who are we missing is an equity component that I think is really important to think about here. As the phrase we used in our value statement is leading with our entrepreneurial spirit. How do we ensure that entrepreneurial spirit that's in everybody can be realized?
This is something that we did through the Laird Norton Company. It was only for family members, but we called it the Associate Opportunity Fund. And we said there are some entrepreneurs who were sitting at a bar and they've got their business plan on the back of a napkin. You don't want to miss that opportunity to work with that person. So there was X amount of dollars that were available. But what you did before anybody got any money is there was somebody else in the family, okay, for Winona, somebody else in the community that would work with them, make sure they understood what a business plan entails, because nobody's going to give you money until they see what your business plan is, how much you anticipate making, how you're going to pay your bills, that kind of thing. So there was always somebody there like you did with some of the noted entrepreneurs in Winona. So I think that type of thing, it's not just the money, it's somebody that's going to be there with you before you get the money to make sure, just one other assurance that you're not going to fail.
To the tie-in, when Nick was talking about equity and technology and sustainability, and actually it's a sustainability tie-in too. How do we take that type of concept and idea and ensure that it lives forever in our community? Who's responsible for carrying that forward? Is it the city, or do we put it in our comp plan and say we need to make sure there's a community partnership for that? And that's what I'm hearing from all of you, but I do want to make sure that we think about it consciously as well. When we talk about those three themes, it's very important for us to call them out specifically. I feel in these meetings.
Just to follow up on Luke, there is where if it's something, an organization that offers the support of the mentorship, is it something that is created new, that is funded by the city and from tax dollars, or is it something that everybody speaks about as partnerships? Is it if a small startup, will say, for example, comes to the Port Authority for a loan, that part of our policies, or maybe it's part of the comprehensive plan, is that that individual, that entrepreneur, has to work with the Small Business Development organization out of Rochester, where they have to go through the process of developing a business plan, going through the process of bookkeeping, record keeping, ordering their product, and having that background information of what it all takes to operate the business, along with the technology for doing QuickBooks or whatever your accounting softwares and inventory, before that capital investment is made, to be able to provide or at least nudge an individual, an entrepreneur, to receive the education that would most likely make him more successful as an operator of a business.
Getting close to time here, aren't we, Luke? But can we have everybody for next time? Workforce. We haven't talked about workforce. It was brought up in the engagement. It's in the old 2007 comp plan, not well written. I do want to say that there is a new effort at the Chamber and the Tech College. There's these new certificate programs. They have 6 or 8, just trying to give people to have a certificate level degree to do some work in a particular area. I can gather information on that program that's being implemented, but if other communities or reading up on workforce or strategies, you as employees in our local companies, owners of local companies, you know, anything you can think of as a goal, objective, a strategy that might work, you know, and does it come back to marketing as one so everyone will live here? I don't know, but just taking a look at the whole workforce issue. I can't drive by a billboard without seeing an employment sign. I don't talk to a business owner without hearing that they can't find employees. I mean, it's really not one sector, it's throughout. So just, I think it would be good to select that topic to focus on maybe for our next meeting. Could I suggest that?
Yeah, that's your great homework, everybody. Think about workforce, think about how we can bring people in to fill those jobs, bring in people who want to live here, be our next entrepreneurs, engage with us, just those exact quality of life and business friendly ideas that we were just talking about. How do we get them upwardly mobile, which was the big arm motion for those who couldn't hear Lucy there. I do want to take a moment, we have about 5 minutes left, and plan for our next meeting. So in our agenda here, we do have that our next meeting, Chuck Marone on June 21st, tentatively at 11:30 a.m., but definitely at 6:30 p.m. in the Friendship Center. He is going to be talking to us with a curbside chat, talking about that sustainable development of cities. And one of the elements that was touched on here a little bit today was, you know, the diversity of our economic base, diversity of our people. And one of the things that he likes to talk about are small bets, making sure that we are able to bet on small things that can grow into big things, not always just putting all of our eggs in one basket. So that's going to be a really nice tie-in. And then for our next meeting, in meeting 5, we intend to have a presentation from Mark Schultz, who is a region labor market analyst for Minnesota Deed. So correct. We don't have a date because we want you to select that date right now. So if we want to, we can aim for the 29th. That's about 3 weeks out. Or the 30th. We have
Would that
almost,
be in the evening?
Yeah, could we do 4 o'clock? Are people comfortable with 4 o'clock, maybe on the 30th? It's a Thursday. The 30th of June, 4 p.m. I'm seeing some head nods, some confirmations. We all feel good about that. I'm going to go ahead and mark that down. So we are going to see you all on the 30th of June. And hopefully I will see you also on the 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Friendship Center. We will try and make sure that that's available for Zoom, and same for 11:30 in the morning if that one goes forward as well. Perfect. Well, the 11:30 a.m. might actually be here at City Hall. We have that very tentative right now. We're trying to figure that one out. All right. Any last comments before we potentially end here as we approach 5 o'clock? Seeing none, Lori, go right ahead.
And because I asked last time that you get some help doing those minutes. And whoever did this, I mean, you've got everybody's comments listed here, and I don't know how you did it, but thank you very much.
We go back and watch you all talk again. It's really good fun. All right. Well, everybody have a great day. I will see you all in a week and a half-ish, and then also again a week after that. So thank you once again for your thoughtfulness and your time. Have a good one.